Another tough watch for Spurs fans tonight. Tottenham held to a 0-all draw away at Monaco. And while it's a point on paper, it felt like another step backwards in performance and identity. The mood around the club feels increasingly uneasy. The more the games go by, the football just isn't clicking. I'd argue the energy looks like it's going as well. And you can sense the questions starting to build around Thomas Frank's set-up approach to games. Although Spurs are unbeaten in the Champions League, let's be honest, it doesn't feel like a team on the rise right now. And Jack, although another point away from home, we still are unbeaten in Europe. I think that's important to say as well. Some fans are saying that's a positive result tonight. Others see it as another missed opportunity. I mean, where do you stand? Was this a good point or a frustrating one?
I mean, you can probably feel lucky that we got a point, but I just don't think the performance at all can be praised because it's not like we grinded out a point or anything like that. We deserved to lose that game. Monaco had something like 2.6, 2.5 XG. I know a lot of people don't believe much in the XG. Sometimes I don't give much attention to it, but I said during the end of the watch along that I felt like we could have easily lost this game by 3 goals at least. And I think the fact that even XG backs me up on that is kind of a big worry. Spurs, they just didn't really do much of anything right. Like they weren't defensively solid. They weren't really keeping Monaco out. Like Monaco created plenty of chances. We also didn't really do much going forward at all. We had 2 good chances, but they came in
Mm.
either half, right? And just the fact that they weren't carving out chances that consistently is again a big worry. That's something that's kind of sort of carried over for a few games now. And I would say there also really wasn't much commitment and effort, it felt like at times, from the players. Wasn't really feeling like we were pressing that intensely, weren't really showing much effort off of the ball. Even when making runs, it wasn't really like, players were showing for it. It was just kind of missing everything, I felt like today's performance. But I guess we got a point, and if we do get into the knockout rounds, we'll look back on this as a very lucky evening.
No, I think we will look at that as a very lucky evening. And at the end of the day, look, you'll take the point, right? It's a game tonight where we should have been beat. But that doesn't mean we have to sit here and praise it and say
Yeah.
we were resilient and stuff like that because we weren't. The amount of chances they created tonight, we didn't defend well. We didn't really, compete for large amounts in midfield, and going forward we were absolutely crap. The only reason why we came out with something tonight is because Vicario remembered who he was and put in a really good
Yeah.
performance tonight and sort of saved us, a point tonight. And look, like I said, we'll take it, but it doesn't mean we have to sit here and praise it. I think you're looking at, I see a lot of fans now questioning what is the identity of this team, and they're basing that off the back of performances. To be honest with you, when you look at it tonight, I think he's set up to take a point away from home tonight. I think Thomas Frank thought a point would be a good result tonight, and because it's just the way we set up. Like we sit every man behind the ball. We're Charleston in beside the midfield. No one jumps out to press it. We allow them to pass it around, and that was our downfall tonight. It's like Thomas Frank's purposely set up for a point, and I think he needs to realise he's at Tottenham Hotspur now. He's not at Brentford anymore. You've got to be a
Hmm.
bit more braver in your approach. So I sort of do blame him for that a little bit tonight. However, I think our identity right now is be hard to beat. And go and look to win the game from set pieces. And to be honest with you, I know a lot of fans would say that's not acceptable, that's not good enough, and we're not Brentford. You can't keep doing that. But at the end of the day, we don't have the quality up front to be able to be any better, to have a proper identity in terms of what we're trying to do going forward, because the quality just isn't there. It's a twofold problem. The problem is carrying over from last season, but I'd also argue I think there's little things that Frank could do to try and alleviate the problem, which we're going to talk about, the likes of bringing Papa Matar Sarr back into the starting lineup, look to press teams rather than sit in and stuff like that. But Jack, do you agree with my observation that maybe Thomas Frank set up for a point away from home today?
Hard to say, really. Like a forward line was kind of what was expected. Like Odebear has been preferred. Richarlison was going to probably always come in for someone like Matisse Tell because he's not in the Champions League squad. I mean, some people would say the combination of Paulinho Bentancur is a bit defensive. I feel like it's actually not as bad as people make it out to be. Perhaps we'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
I
we
don't
will.
really know if like the lineup he went for was necessarily, the lineup itself was going for a point. I just think the
Maybe not the
nature
lineup,
of
maybe
the
the
the nature of
tactics.
the performance was setting up for a point. We sat
Mm.
behind the ball. We didn't really engage at all in a high press. Like against Villa, we did press pretty high and we actually
Yeah.
did look to sort of win the ball back. We looked to not give them that much time on the ball. and it seemed like we showed more respect to Monaco than we did Aston Villa, if you get what I mean.
Yeah,
And that's where I would say we set up for a point was the
yeah,
nature of the performance, the style of play was set up for a point, not maybe the team
yeah.
itself that he picked.
Well, Spurs fans, let me know how you feel about that in the comment section below. But Jack, once again, no start for Xavi Simons, and Spurs are crying out for creativity. And I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Is Thomas Frank losing faith in him as a number 10, or just trying to protect the young player still adapting to his system?
I think he might have felt a bit underwhelmed by his performance against Aston Villa. And considering he is the only true quote unquote number 10 creative midfielder in the team, he might be worried about overplaying him. At the minute, he is overplaying. You could say Mohamed Kudus, but that's because we just desperately need someone
Yeah.
like Kudus in the team. So he's thinking he can get away with it. But that's my thinking is that it's not like Xavi Simons has really been ripping up any trees. He's not necessarily been a guy that's the first name on the team sheet right now. I don't think like everyone wants him in the team, but can you really say his performances have demanded a start every game? I wouldn't say so. So I think he probably just felt like going with something else that maybe has worked, like Bergvall, Bentancur, and Palinha has worked in previous games, or going with Sarr or Bergvall has worked, before, and playing Xavi Simons through the middle technically hasn't worked, every game. So I think he was just going with something different to see if it could give him something to think about. But I don't know. I don't know if, playing Xavi Simmons was a huge or missing him or starting him on the bench was a huge mistake, actually. And I don't think Xavi Simmons did very much when he came on to really show that that was a huge mistake either. So I don't know. I
Um,
can't really blame Frank for that.
no, look, I think it's a fair right. Has he taken the opportunities that Frank has afforded him? You would argue he hasn't. But I'd also argue, looking at it, as much as he is in and out of the starting lineup, I wonder how much did Frank actually want him and how much does he know what to do with him. And the reason why I ask that is because he's played him off the left, he's played him through the middle. If this was a guy that Frank identified, to fix Tottenham's problems going forward, he would know exactly where he wants to fit in into his system and he would persist with it. The fact that this guy is constantly in and out of the starting lineup, in off the left, in off the middle, I have serious questions around how much did Thomas Frank really want this guy, because to me it looks like he doesn't know how to use him or where to use him, Jack. Now
Yeah.
look, it is a two-pronged thing, right? Xavi Simons hasn't exactly stuck his head above the parapet to say pick me in either position. But I think what concerns me more again today is, and something I brought up in the pre-match build-up, he's brought on to play that number 10 role. He spent how much of the second half down the left-hand side playing left wing?
Hmm.
He just vacate in the middle. And for me, that's a huge problem. And also, right near the end of the game, the ball came to him twice to put into the box. He passed on responsibility to Jed Spence, which also is a little bit concerning from me. Maybe shows that the kid is maybe losing a little bit of confidence in himself or a little bit of belief in himself, which I think is a huge concern. But again, Spurs fans, let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section below. Let's keep it moving, Jack, because I got a few talking points tonight. Another big talking point, why is Matar Sarr not starting games? His energy and ball winning were crucial to Spurs' bright start earlier in the season, and he nearly made the difference off the bench tonight with the exact same thing
Yep.
that we've been talking about, setting up Johnson, who couldn't quite finish. And I think, many fans are starting to see this now, so the big question is, what is going on with Matar Sarr? Why is he not starting him in games?
That's probably my biggest criticism of Frank at the minute. I just don't understand. Apart, like he did have an injury, so he I think did sort of miss one or two games, and I can understand that. Then, like maybe he wanted to ease him back into the team after the injury, but I think enough time has passed, and he's left Sarr on the bench a few times now, where I have sort of questioned the decision making there because Sarr was arguably the best midfielder, maybe next to Joao Palinha, you would say this season until he had that injury. And then also with Sarr, when we have been a team that's been struggling to be decisive and be clinical in the final third, he is the one that is
Yeah.
consistently clinical in those moments. And the fact that he came on was running about, pressing, winning the ball back, but then carved out the second best chance of the game for Brennan Johnson. I think it was also some really good play from Kolo Muani, if I can remember correctly. But Sarr made that run, and then he put in a perfect cross to Brennan Johnson, and it was just being asked to just be taken with a bit of quality there. And we could have maybe sucker punched Monaco and could be walking out of here, yes, with some concerns, but also maybe some smirks on our faces, with how we maybe could have stolen it from them. And I think Sarr, I don't know why he's been left on the bench, to be honest, in recent games by Thomas Frank, especially when you bring up. The pressing has not really been there, but also just there's been no real clinical nature in the final third. I think he just needs to be in the team for that reason. Also, maybe just quickly and lastly, Bergvall once again had a game where he nearly gave away 2 goals just on his own from just giving the ball away really sloppily and just doing way too much on the ball, sort of dawdling on it and just not being careful enough. And I think Sarr, on a technical level, sometimes isn't as good as Bergvall, but he doesn't give the ball away like that. And I think that's another reason is that you need to bring Sarr into the team for that reason too. He's not going to, hurt you like Bergvall was today in possession.
Mm. No, 100%. Look, I actually don't have too much more to add to that than, basically end up repeating what you have to say. The only thing I will add is as well, I actually like the little bits of link up play Papa Matar had with Kolo Muani.
Yeah.
And I think if I'm Thomas Frank, that's something I'm going to look to develop over the next couple of weeks by playing them close together, playing Sarr in the 10, playing Kolo Muani as the striker. Because I think Frank needs to get Papa Matar back into this team. I'm pretty sure it will come out eventually. But if you go back and look in seasons gone by, Papa Matar has notoriously started seasons well and then found himself out of the team. And results have dropped off. So I think, it
Yeah.
alludes to maybe how important he is actually to this Tottenham team. Don't get me wrong, he's not your traditional number 10 in that sense, but he's effective. And right now, I'll take that over guesswork, which it seems like Thomas Frank is doing every time he selects a player there that isn't Papa Matar right now. Moving on, Jack. I think if there is one positive tonight, it is Guglielmo Vicario. He made a massive saves tonight in the first half and the second half, to keep Spurs in it. Without him, this could easily have been another hiding, to your point about the XG stats and stuff like that. Given the criticism he's faced in recent weeks, how much praise does he deserve tonight? And is this exactly why Frank keeps faith in him? Performances like tonight.
Yeah, I think Vicario had this isn't like an Ange criticism or anything, but like I think Vicario had a performance that reminded me of like his seasons under Ange, where we were giving up a lot of chances and very good chances, and then Vicario was just bailing us out with huge saves that are in some cases world class saves, really, and that he's just pulling off something that you're expecting it to go in the back of the net, and then all of a sudden he's just flying across goals and pulling out an amazing reaction save. And today was one of those days where he kind of reminded me of his first season with us and, to a degree, the end of his
Mm.
second season with us, where he came back from injury and was very good for the most part. So I think this was a great day for Vicario. And I think this was a day that reminded people of what he is capable of. And there's been a lot of pressure on him. I would say there's been sometimes a bit over kind of hate towards him. Like, I can understand if you want to criticize some of his recent performances and mistakes, but at the same time, like, we've seen enough from him. He is capable of world class saves.
Mm.
And I just don't know that about Kinski. Like, people have been clamoring for Kinski, but I've never really seen Kinski make world class saves like Vicario did today. And he pulled off so many that's kind of the reason why you do keep him in the team, maybe ahead of a Kinski, is that Vicario can almost win you a game. Like, let's say we took one of those chances at the end there, like Johnson's chance, could have won that game, and then Vicario would be looked at as an absolute hero for it. So yeah, I think he's gotten back, I hope, a lot of praise from the fan base,
I
even though
think
he was
praise.
probably rightfully under a bit of pressure.
No, look, he was rightfully put under pressure, right? There was questions asked because he was making errors. People aren't asking questions of the guy unfairly. But I think tonight is a healthy reminder of how good Vicario can be and how important he can be to this team on nights like tonight, when things aren't going your way, when you are under severe pressure. He has shown, and he's done that in seasons gone by, that he can keep you in games with a chance to be able to go and win it. And I'd argue the reason why we've seen the best of Vicario today is because, unlike in usual games, they carved us open. They got a lot of one-on-ones with Vicario, and that is one thing is absolutely brilliant, and it's a healthy reminder of how good he is in that situation. But I'd also argue he's tested from outside the box a couple of times and looked decent tonight. But I think, tonight sort of he was asked and required of a different skill set than maybe what's been asked of him in recent weeks. Is the concern still around there about him saving shots from the edge of the box and stuff like that? Yes. But today is a massive step in the right direction. We can sit here and scream for Brandon Austin or Antonin Kinski. The reality is, Brandon Austin plays Mario Kart until we have an injury to everybody else in front of him. And when it comes to Antonin Kinski, you got to understand, Postecoglou brought Vicario back straight away because Kinski was making mistakes. And you also have to ask the question, well, if Vicario has been making mistakes, why hasn't Thomas Frank put in Kinski? So they're obviously seeing something that maybe us fans aren't. And I think tonight is a good, healthy reminder of how good he can be. Does it stop the questions of, do we need to upgrade him in the summer? No, he needs to have a string of good performances, before that sort of happens. But tonight is a huge step in the right direction. And to be honest
Yeah,
with you, seeing a player under constant criticism like that, constant scrutiny, it's nice to see them being given a break rather than it continue. So I
I
think that's
agree.
an absolute plus on that, Jack. Now, let's get into it. I've got two more talking points, one around Kolo Muani, one around Bentancur, but we're going to go with Bentancur first, Jack. The Bentancur debate. I mean, Bentancur was taken off, tonight in the game. When I looked on social media, many fans were calling for him to be taken off at half time. But I think the big question has to be, did we actually look better or worse once he went off? Because to me, it felt like we lost our ability to be able to keep possession and try and control that midfield. And I think that changed when he came off.
I think it's a two-parter for me. I would say I'm surprised how much criticism Bentancur gets because you look at a few moments again with Bergvall. Bergvall received the ball deep and then gave the ball away in a terrible area and then led to some of the best chances that Monaco had, especially in the first half. I think some of the best chances they had were some from Bergvall's giveaways. Did Bentancur have anything like that in this day? Like there were plenty of times when he's receiving the ball and he has 3, 4 players around him and he plays a nice sort of first time pass to get out of pressure, or he takes a touch that does throw people off and then he buys himself that extra half second on the ball. I understand that people maybe accuse him of being sideways and a bit backwards, but the reason he does that is so that we can sort of calm down a little bit, so that we can sort of get our foot on the ball and sort of start to develop our play. I think people really underrate his composure under pressure. And I would say the time that he was taken off, like all of a sudden we were just giving the ball back to Monaco time after time after time again. And if we had Bentancur on the pitch, I just wonder if we would have given ourselves just a bit more easiness and just a bit less
Mhm.
anxiety and stress because he would have just taken a bit of extra time on the ball, would have found, a pass, to someone that is open to sort of help develop our play. And also defensively, there were plenty of times when he won the ball back, in a good area and maybe got us out of, a bit of a sketchy moment by just sort of putting his foot on it or just putting in a good tackle. One of those periods too, which I bet everyone ignored because there seems to be a huge agenda against Bentancur. There's that one time when I think he won the ball back, played a nice first time pass out to Poro, received it back from Poro, and then sprayed like a 45-yard pass all the way out to Odebear while he was wide open. Granted, be nice if he did that more often, but I just think that's again going to go completely under the radar for people when it feels like there is a bit of an agenda against him. I just don't really see what he did wrong tonight. But some of the play ratings, they've given him like a 0, and I don't get how like Bergvall gets like a 4 or 5 in people's play ratings, and then Bentancur gets a 0. I really don't see it. I'm trying to see what they're seeing, and I just can't.
I think it's absolute madness. I think you have to understand, midfield is about partnerships, right? You've got Paulinho who goes and wins ball left, right, and centre. But let's be honest, how many passes did he give away tonight? So his job is to be the destroyer. Bentancur's job is to control possession and move it forward. And I'd argue, I think he does that. To my point, when he came out of the team today, out of that deep line midfield role, for the next 10, 15 minutes of that game, we lost complete control of the game. The ball was just coming one way because we didn't have anyone that could put that foot on the ball and make a pass out that relieves a bit of pressure to that Jack's point.
Yeah.
So the pressure just stepped down, kept on coming, 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 coming. And I think anyone that, has fallen on the side of get Bentancur out of this team, etc., etc., I think, you need to step up and realize sort of what he brings and what we missed when he came off the pitch today. I'd also make a joke. I don't think you're going to see that map that was being passed around on social media last week because it will show a couple of progressive passes tonight and one of them 60 yards, which doesn't suit the agenda or the narrative. Now, look, do I agree that at times I would like him to be a bit more pragmatic or a bit more sort of expansive in his passing range? Yes, like tonight we've seen, he has the ability to do that. He has the ability to be able to pick up the ball, give it to someone, take it again, get turned, spray it forward. And I do agree with that. I would like to see that more from Rodrigo Bentancur. He has it in his locker, but right now I don't understand what the big issue is. Let's be brutally honest. Bergvall twice tonight dropped deep in the first half to pick up that ball. lost it twice, nearly ended up in the back of our own net. And he's been punished for this time and time and time again. So he's not the answer because he can't be trusted in possession. Papa Matar Sarr gets stuck in, but again, is he as good as Bentancur on the ball? No, I think Papa Matar Sarr's, is better further up, going and pressing people, running with the ball and stuff like that. And I think people sort of need to sort of understand what Bentancur brings to this team and what his skill set is. He takes pressure off us in possession, which allows us then to keep possession and build up from the back. And when he comes out of the team, we absolutely lose that ability. So I would urge Spurs fans, surely you've seen today that we've missed that when he comes off. And look, we can keep screaming and having this debate about Bentancur all you want, but the reality is, do we currently have anyone capable of doing what Bentancur does back there effectively if he is off his game or if you do take him out of the lineup? No. It significantly weakens us in that position. That double pivot isn't as strong, it isn't as combative. So for me, I understand, do we want more out of him going forward? Yes. But this whole narrative of get him off the pitch every time he starts or every time he's dropped out of the lineup, people are celebrating. I think you need to be careful what you're wishing for on that one.
Yeah.
Jack, last talking point here, though. On a brighter note, Randall Kolo Muani looked lively yet again, direct, physical, and he looked like a right handful tonight. Does his performance tonight give you a glimmer of hope that he could help alleviate some of Spurs' attacking struggles over the next coming weeks?
I think he had better hold-up play in the 20 minutes he was on than I've seen Richarlison have in like 4 or 5 games, to be honest.
Nearly 4 or 5 seasons, to be honest.
And also, like, I know, like, I think you're right. Like, part of it seems to be instructional with Richarlison, but when Kolo Muani came on, he was making runs. He was looking to stretch the defense. When we were, trying to win the ball back, he seemed to be showing more effort to do that than what Richarlison was. I'm just seeing more effort from Kolo Muani, first of all, than I'm seeing from Richarlison. And then also just technically, he's holding the ball up far more often and far better than Richarlison. It's a very small sample size, but it's a pretty low standard that we're talking about. Like Richarlison, for me, is offering less than nothing at the minute. He even had, in my opinion, the best chance of the game for Spurs. Not saying that we deserve to win this or anything, but we could have technically snuck something in the first half. We could have potentially been 1-0 up had he taken that chance that Odegaard gave to him. He was clean through and then took a year to get that shot off and didn't even end up registering, I think, as a shot on target or anything when he had a clear opening. I wonder if that fell to Kolo Muani, whether we would have saw something different. So I think simply put, he has to start if he is fit and available this weekend. He's just better right now.
Do you know what was so refreshing to see, Jack, today? Is our striker actually link up with other players?
Seriously.
And when he came on, that happened. Him and Papa Matar Sarr linked up. Him and Simons linked up a couple of times. There was more link-up play between him and other people than what we've seen in quite some time with Richarlison up front or Matisse Tell up front. I really like what I've seen from Muani. He's shown me today that he doesn't always need players around him. He can punt that ball long in the air to him. He has the ability to be able to hold it up. He's similar to Mo Kudos, the way he backs in, holds that ball up. When he holds it up, then he has the quality to be able to take it down, to your point, which is something Richarlison can't. But then he also has the ability to link up with others, also get turned, run direct at them. And also offer runs in behind. I really like what I've seen from Muani today. And for me, I am begging you, Thomas Frank, because watching us going forward, to be honest with you, watching paint dry is more entertaining. So I beg you, Papa Matar Sarr in the 10, Muani up front, Kudos off the right, and I think you'll start seeing Tottenham look a bit more better moving forward, and you will see improvements. So that's where I'm at with it. But all in all, a great introduction for RKM tonight. So guys, that's it. Another post-match reaction. Let us know in the comments your thoughts on all the topics we've discussed today. Kolo Muani, Xavi Simons, Bentancur debate, Vicario, in terms of Frank's setup and stuff like that. Make sure you give us your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure you smash that thumbs up button. Gives us a like. Very, very important. Helps us in the algorithm. And also smash that subscribe button if you are new. Hit the notification bell so you are kept up to date with when we do drop content. But look, unfortunately, right now, we are struggling. The structure looks cautious. The spark is missing. And the question around Thomas Frank's approach will not go away. So, guys, let us know in the comments, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Come on, you Spurs. See you this
Frank.
weekend, everybody. Oh, yeah. And Frank, we trust. He's got to turn things around.